Hi, I'm Cassandra Cloverleaf. I'm the teacher and co-author of two books, Beyond the Veil of Sedona and Beyond the Cloak of California. And these have to do with photographing actual fairies, orbs, devas, and nature spirits. So I'm here today sitting with Jerry, and he's interviewing me here at the school.
Hi, Cassandra. Thank you for being here. How did you first become aware of fairies?
Well, like so many of us, the best time to do so is when you were children. And it's before we have any preconceived notions of what's real and what's unreal, and before society has this way of impacting on us any types of other beliefs. My identical twin sister and I, Selena, would spend time outdoors, out and being in the trees. We were tomboys. We climbed trees and played baseball. We'd dress up. And one of those occasions, we started acting out Peter Pan. Of course, everyone is familiar with Peter Pan and Tinker Bell, and that is the most familiar way that fairies are depicted now, with the wings. Yet now, in this date, we find out that fairies don't all have wings. But going back to our childhood, once again, frolicking in the outdoors, our parents would call us in, and we wouldn't want to come in. We would connect with nature. We would look at the grasshoppers, we'd collect bees, and all of those things brought us so close to that fairy realm. And we truly believed that fairies were not a figment of our imagination. We could feel their energy and not necessarily see it, but we felt it and we knew it to be real.
So when did you believe that fairies were real, and was there an experience or two that caused that to happen?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question, Jerry. One of my most favorite stories to tell, and this is when I went to Clifton, Ireland in 1997 on a music project. And I went with a group of recording artists there, and we spent time near a castle. And it was a very, very unique experience. But what was more unique about it was the time of the year. It was at Halloween, which is Hallows Eve, and the Irish people believe that this is when the veil is the thinnest. This is when the fairies and the leprechauns come out and visit us mere mortals. So upon going there, I thought to myself, well, if something unusual happens, because things that have happened in my life that have been unusual, being a telepathic identical twin, well, then they were meant to be. But if they don't happen, they don't happen. So on one occasion, I was in the village and shopping around, and I was looking in a window. And my heritage happens to be half Scandinavian, and I was very disheartened to find that the Vikings had invaded that village at one time and pillaged, as they did so many other places. And I felt very saddened by that. And as I was looking in this glass window, I noticed that there were Viking ships and sterling silver items. And I thought to myself, I sure wish that my ancestors hadn't done that. I feel just a sense of guilt and remorse. Well, all of a sudden, this gentleman's voice, an older gentleman, called out to me, and he said, "Hello there. Oh, I see you're busy looking in the window." And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Do you know where you are?" And I said, I'm thinking, well, this could be an unusual experience, because I certainly think I know where I am. And so I answered, "I'm in Clifton." And he answered, "Oh, well, you are in Clifton, but you're also in Connemara County." And I said, "Oh, okay, then I am." And then he knew some incidences about my past that he brought up to me that made me know that he was psychic. He was very psychically aware, and I thought this was very unusual. And then I turned around and he wasn't there, and I thought, well, okay, well, chalk it down to an unusual experience. Who knows? He could have been maybe a spirit of someone departed there. The veil is open, so you never know who he could be. So I walked around the corner of the block, and I found some beautiful rings, the friendship rings, and they were made out of Connemara silver. So Connemara brings you luck. So I bought one for each of my daughters and one for myself. And as I was walking out of the gift shop, the bag the bag just seemed to open and the rings went rolling down the street. But what was so unusual about that is the rings went in exact order and they just followed a path, beelined right down the street. And I'm thinking, my goodness, how is this even how is this even happening that they haven't fallen by now? And I bet you at the end of this is going to be another magical adventure. Where sure enough, as I chased the rings down the street, they paused at the foot of someone, and I went to pick them up, and I looked up, and it was a full-size leprechaun. Now, I know a lot of you might want to laugh at this story because it's not too often people talk about meeting full-size leprechauns, but I could see that he had pointy ears under his hat, and I knew then that that's why the rings had gone in order down the street. And as I looked more closely at him, he had the red hair and the red beard and the velvet suit, but his velvet suit was very unusual because it was a brownish green and it looked very old, almost dusty as a matter of fact. And so he was smiling and beaming and his cheeks were rosy, and he smiled and I said, "Why, hello," and he said, "Oh, why, hello." He goes, "Do you know where you are?" And I thought, oh no, not this question again. And I thought, I know the answer to that one. So I said, "Yes, I'm in Connemara County." And he said, and he laughed and he chuckled and he said, "Yes, you're not only in Connemara County, but you're in Clifton. And I welcome you and we all welcome you here." And I was totally amazed by that. And I thought, could this be the old man changed into a leprechaun? I mean, it's possible. Or maybe they're two totally different entities. But whatever the case, I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. And why aren't the people, it was a busy street in the village and it was on a weekend. The sun was shining brightly. Why aren't they noticing this full-size leprechaun in the middle of the street? Maybe he's for my eyes only. And I glanced away for one split second and I looked back and he was gone. He totally disappeared. So that was my message that I brought back with me. And I always wondered from that point forth, now, he appeared to me, but what is the reason? I know it has to be more significant. He didn't really tell me what my purpose in life would be associated with the fairy realm, but maybe in the future I'll come to find out. And so, as it turned out, that's what happened.
Oh, interesting. Can you tell us about your other most profound experiences with fairies?
Yes, well, after 9/11, my identical twin sister and I were trying to formulate, where should we live? I mean, 9/11 was such a traumatic experience, and I think it changed a lot of people's lives as to what the quality of life would be. And so we decided to move out of the city, and we moved to Sedona, Arizona. And we valued the nature, and we knew there were vortex energies there and all of that, but we weren't really totally educated on that, but we just knew that that's where we were meant to go. So we went there, and I saw this lovely house and decided to purchase it. So I made an offer to the woman, and to my amazement, she said, "Well, I'm going to have to ask the fairies before I sell it to you." And I said, what do you mean? This is good money. No, I'll get back to you in a couple days. Well, this house was named Rivendell after the Lord of the Rings, and I'm not sure if it had been her who had named the house or someone before her, but I distinctively knew that that something amazing was going to happen, but I wasn't really sure I believed her at that moment in time. Now, if I think back, the leprechaun connection, yeah, but when we go through life, sometimes 10 years later, we don't always necessarily remember what we're supposed to remember. So I just hoped she accepted the offer. Well, she did. And she said, as a matter of fact, they said you're going to have a great time. So that's how it all started. I moved into the cottage, and it was right on Oak Creek in the canyon. Very magical place. As a matter of fact, the Native Americans believe that Sedona is so sacred that they don't even believe you should live there, that you should they just visit it they would visit it for retreats and such. We started just taking lots of pictures, and what I would do is in Rivendell, I'd just go down to the hill, down to the creek, and we would watch for reflections. And I know a lot of people think, well, maybe that's just a reflection, something glowing or a rock or something else. But we took it one step further. We knew they'd communicated with us, and through the phone. I mean, how difficult is that? So we knew that they would definitely show up for us as well. So we started photographing anything that we could see that reflected, and also anything that we felt had a fairy energy about it. Like if it was just, mushrooms or flower bed or something, and we would tune in. We would meditate on it, and we'd ask them. And there were times when we actually physically could see faces in the trees and the rocks, and we were told, take this picture, take this picture. It was like just on a telepathic way. It was like, take the picture. So we were amazed when they did actually start showing themselves to us.
What benefits do you believe that fairies can bring into our lives?
Well, because of the hustle bustle, we get so distracted, and there's a lot of stress in this life. And what we need to do is the fairies actually want to just show us how to connect to nature. What they are is they are the guardians of the planet, and they communicate with each other telepathically. But if you view them in a setting, and we have photographs where more than one fairy is together in a group, they don't look stressed. I mean, they are totally in tune to their surroundings and their environment. And so that's what we need to do. We need to take the time out to go into nature and have fun and play and relax. And the main thing is not to worry. So we need to connect with our heart, because you can see that they do. I mean, they are totally dedicated to protecting the planet. And they live in harmony with it. So that's what we need to do. We need to basically just chill out.
Well, in conclusion, what messages do you believe that fairies want to communicate to us today?
Well, they want to communicate that they are real, that they're not a figment of someone's imagination, and that we shouldn't be afraid of talking about them and expressing them through for instance, the books are great, that people have out there. But now there's a lot of authors that are getting into, what fairies are about. And so that's what our book is. Books also state it's not just fairy tales, it's actuality. And what they are is they're multidimensional, so they can bring us so much more. They can bring us healing energy. They can bring us hope, happiness, and joy. They can help relieve our stress. And they can bring magic into our lives, because to know that they are real, so many people have come up to me during the seminars and workshops and said, this is life-changing. This is life-altering, because I've always felt that they were real. I've caught glimpses of them. I've felt their energy. But now that you've opened this up to me, it's like relieved the burden off my shoulders. I can feel like a child again. I can get into the wonder of the fairies, and they can help me and assist me, and they can become my friend. So that's what I believe is their main purpose, besides, of course, protecting the environment and having us aware that we should protect what we also don't see, but the seen and the unseen.
And for the last question, I noticed in your books there were many pictures of orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And so you believe that those pictures of orbs actually prove the existence of fairies and fairy energy?
Yes, because we've actually photographed fairies traveling in orbs, and orbs can be angelic fairy entities. Of course, they can be deceased spirits, or also souls that have not even been born yet, who are just looking onto this earth, who might even be born in the future. So, yes, by orbs first coming into our world, and then fairies validating that, I totally believe that we can experience everything they have to offer and everything they have to teach us.
Well, thank you for sharing your information on
thank you,
fairies with
Jerry.
us today.
Yeah, and I look forward to the upcoming workshops with your school.